Now, if you're an aspiring writer obsessed with mystery and detective stories, you've probably read Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes books until they are truly dog-eared. But it would be completely audacious to use Doyle and his fictitious British detective as the basis for your first novel. Yet that is exactly what 28-year-old Graham Moore has done with his literary debut entitled The Sherlockium. I spoke to him from New York earlier today. Graham Moore, wonderful to have you on the programme, and congratulations on your first book. Most writers, I guess, are inspired by other writers. They have role models, they have people they would like to be like, but you're not just inspired by Arthur Conan Doyle, you've wrapped yourself completely in his mantle. In fact, one might say you've stolen his mantle.
I wouldn't say stolen. I think I've borrowed it temporarily just for a bit of time, if he doesn't mind.
Now, why did you do that? Why him?
I did it because I first fell in love with the Sherlock Holmes stories when I was a child. When I was 7 or 8 years old, the first things I ever learned to read were mystery stories. My mother taught me to read. She'd lay in bed and we'd pass a copy of, we started with Agatha Christie, and we passed a copy back and forth in bed, each reading a page to each other and laughing over how wonderful they were. And then we moved from Christie to Conan Doyle, and I've loved these stories forever. And so when the opportunity came to write a book about Conan Doyle, it was just, for me, sort of the chance of a lifetime.
And better to do that, you thought, than to try and invent your own characters, I mean, to be completely original and not borrow from someone else?
Well, I think what interested me here, and what I wanted to talk about in this book, is in Sherlock Holmes you have this character who's endured for almost 130 years now. And I wanted to talk about why this character, because it's not a book about Sherlock Holmes, it's a book about people who love Sherlock Holmes. It's a book about people whose lives have been changed forever by Sherlock Holmes. And that means Arthur Conan Doyle, and that means this set of Sherlockians and Holmes obsessives in the present. So for me, getting into those people's heads and the lives of people who define themselves by Sherlock Holmes was what really fascinated me.
And this is a mystery, isn't it?
It is a mystery. It's a mystery about, in the present day, a Sherlock Holmes scholar tries to solve a real crime using the methods of Holmes himself. He sort of says, well, I've read every Holmes story ever, so I can solve a real-life crime. And then 100-odd years ago, Arthur Conan Doyle does the same. He says, I've written the best mystery stories of all time, so I can absolutely go and solve a real crime. And so he tries to do that. So it's a mystery novel from the perspective of people who love and are obsessed with mystery novels. And
Graham, tell me, is mystery basically the posh way of saying thriller, and having a book cover that doesn't have sort of embossed writing on it and lots of lurid colours?
I think that maybe so. I think that, you know, my kind of pretentious way of talking about this book is I like to call it a meta-mystery, because it's a self-aware story. It's a story that's aware of its own conventions. And, you know, I wanted to sort of look at, you know, we have all these books with the sort of serial killers running around chopping people's heads off, and I wanted to look more at why those stories are popular. You know, it's a novel about those sorts of novels.
So it traces a psychological journey, which is, I guess, what makes any good book, whether it's a novel or a mystery, briefly.
Yes, absolutely.
OK, that was brief. Thank you very much. Good luck with the book,
Thank you so much.
And have a happy holiday.
You too. Thanks so much.
Coming up here on BBC World News America, it may be the only fun investment left. 75 years after Monopoly hit the scene, players are still competing to cash in.